Yo, what's going on, guys? So I actually had somebody on TikTok tag me in the top 10 facts of One Piece power scaling twice. So now there's 20 facts that we need to review, and we really need to know, are these truly facts? Or is this person just chatting? Let's take a look. No one on God Valley was in their prime except for Rocks and maybe Garland. Is this a fact or is this opinion based? Because from what I understand, it looked like Saint Saturn was also on God Valley. Now, was he in the mix of things? Not that we know of, but there were some heavy hitters on God Valley. We know Kaido was young. We know Big Mom was younger. We could say the same for Roger and Garp, but what if Rocks was also still on the way up? What if Garland was still also on the way up? Nothing truly is really confirmed as far as we know. No one is beating Kaido in a 1v1. Not Roger, not Shanks, not Mihawk, not Whitebeard, only Joy Boy narratively. Now, not only is this take egregious, but Kaido himself doesn't even believe this. Kaido himself was somebody that wanted to challenge Whitebeard, and he made it his mission to try to get to Marineford to challenge Whitebeard, and he couldn't even get there. Kaido himself also has a top 5. People tend to forget that. Now, as much as we revere and respect Kaido, and he is truly one of those ones, there are characters in the One Piece world that have shown hockey feats greater than Kaido. Because you know why? Kaido himself has literally said it. The way Kaido spoke about Roger does not seem like somebody that thinks they can beat Roger. He said Roger was able to take over the world and become king of the pirates because his hockey was the greatest. Kaido didn't take over the world as far as I know. If Kaido didn't accomplish what Roger accomplished, that means he does not have the highest hockey right now. Kaido's out the game right now as far as we know. He may come back later in the series, we have no idea, but he's out the game right now. So for me, this is cap. Zoro is not beating neither Kid or Law. Okay, so listen, we love Zoro. One of the questions I had in Wano was, will Zoro be able to truly control Enma and tame Enma? Because the way he was using it in Wano was very, very shaky. And then when we move on to Egghead and now we're in Elbaf, obviously Zoro has been showing greater control of his hockey, which is really what we needed to see. Now, is it maxed out? Does he have full mastery of it? No, I still think he has some room for growth, but Zoro is definitely looking better considering that he crossed blades with not only Kaku, not only Rob Lucci, but now we can say he crossed blades with one of the Gorosei in St. Ethan. So that's impressive. We have to give Zoro his credit there. However, when you look at Captain Kidd and you look at Law, they also have something that's very important on their resume, and that's the fact that they were able to take down a Yonko together. Now, some people may say, well, if you swap out either of those two in that fight and then you bring in Zoro, so let's say it's a Zoro Law combo or a Zoro Kid combo, they still would be able to defeat Big Mom in that scenario. I'm not gonna lie to you. Zoro and Law can get the job done against Big Mom, but I'm not so sure about Zoro and Kid. And the reason why I say that is because even though they have Conqueror's Haki, Law made us really understand that having a Devil Fruit Awakening is incredible. Law is one of the strongest characters in One Piece because if we remember during that fight with Big Mom, Law was really doing most of the work. Yes, we saw Captain Kidd's rail gun and he pushed Big Mom out of Onigashima, but Law is the one that put Big Mom in his room. Law is the one that made sure that Big Mom was silent. Law was doing all of these things, running the plays to allow Captain Kidd to shine. So now let's bring it back to Zoro versus Kid versus Law. I believe Zoro has a much better chance of taking down Captain Kidd than he does Law. The only question I've ever had for Law is, how is your hockey looking? We know that the other two have Conquerors and Law doesn't. That is a blow, absolutely. But is it a major blow? I'm not so sure because he still took down Big Mom, who also had Conqueror's Haki. And if we recall, Big Mom has a better handle on her Conquerors than Zoro and Captain Kidd. Let's keep it above. So when we tie all that back together, I think these three are very, very close, but I could see it really going Law at number 1, Zoro at 2, and then Captain Kidd at 3. I think Captain Kidd is incredibly powerful, but again, what happened to him with Shanks was devastating. And it was confirmed that Shanks wasn't even the one who took Captain Kidd's arm. Captain Kidd's awakening wasn't even on the same level as Law's. We have to put things into perspective. I think Captain Kidd on paper, he should be stronger than Zoro, but if we are using the eye test and we're seeing what's happening with on-screen feats, we're seeing what abilities they have and we're seeing what opponents they battled against, Captain Kidd may have better stamina in battle, but the AP, it might go to Zoro with the Conquerors because he's able to use his Conquerors is better in an offensive setting than Captain Kid. So I have Law at 1, Zoro at 2, and Kid at 3. It sounds disrespectful for those Kid fans out there, but let's be serious. Captain Kid has shown us that he can be defeated by a sword blitz attack with enough haki on it. Now, I'm not saying Zoro can bring out a divine departure because that's way outside of his league right now. But if he's able to replicate the Ashura technique and he's able to land maybe 2 or 3 of those on Captain Kid, he's done. Fact 4, Mihawk and Shanks have the strongest rivalry in the series. By Oda, by the way. So stronger than Roger and Whitebeard. Okay, so let's just clear things up here, anime scares. Let's just clear this up. Are you saying that Mihawk and Shanks have surpassed Roger and Whitebeard? Or are you saying their strength to compete is greater than that of Roger and Whitebeard's? Because if you're talking about their strength to compete, honestly, I would have to disagree. Because Mihawk and Shanks aren't even trying to achieve the same thing. Now, we do know that Whitebeard has talked about the greatness of their battles in the past, and we know that they are both really elite swordsmen in the One Piece world. But Mihawk only cares about swordsmanship and honing his sword skills. Shanks, on the other hand, is trying to find the One Piece. So they're in 2 completely different phases of life. Like, from the moment when Mihawk came to the Cross Guild and he heard that Buggy said he wanted to go find the One Piece, Mihawk was tight. Mihawk does not want to be in those scenarios. Shanks, on the other hand, lives for that. So them being strong rivals is definitely there, but I don't know if it really has surpassed Roger and Whitebeard. Now, I have to check if Oda really said this, because if Oda said it, then it's obviously confirmed it is what it is. But as a fan of the series and me looking at it, I think the strongest rivalry would literally have to be Luffy and Blackbeard, because they are trying to achieve the same thing and they are on opposite sides of the coin. Blackbeard is literally the reason why Ace was even imprisoned in the first place. So when you're seeing all these things tie in together, Luffy has a reason to want to go after Blackbeard. Mihawk and Shanks just have a rivalry based on swordsmanship and dueling each other, but they're not trying to achieve the same thing. Now, if Shanks came outside and said, you know what, I'm trying to be the world's strongest swordsman and I'm blah blah blah, then there would be something there. But Shanks is not worried about that, because what he's dealing with, by Mihawk's words by the way, is something much harder than what Mihawk is trying to achieve. Fact 5, full power Big Mom is mid-diffing any of the admirals. Okay, so this might be a little bit disrespectful, because I already know the Admiral fans out there seeing this fact would be upset, because there's Admiral fans out there that put Kizaru and Kuzan and all these people in top 5s. I've seen it. I've seen the list. I've seen Akainu top 1s, but there is some truth to this. Green Bull, Aramaki, Ryokugyu, whatever you want to call him, is definitely getting mid-diff by Big Mom at full power. Absolutely, no questions about it. I don't even want to talk about his haki because it's virtually non-existent based on what Shanks did to him. Shanks literally had him running from Wano. Now, if we talk about how Kuzan matched up against Garp, things get a little bit tricky, because the Admiral fans are going to say, well, Kuzan was really just holding back against Garp. If he really tried, he would have defeated Garp. But on the flip side, Garp also felt bad that he was fighting his former apprentice, and he truly also was holding back against Kuzan as well. Admiral fans leave that out. I don't. So although I do think it is impressive that Kuzan was boxing against Garp, I also am not going to sit here and act like he's Garp level and he can hang with Roger in his prime. I'm not doing that. Full power Big Mom is devastating. Big Mom has boxed against Kaido on multiple occasions 1v1 and has held her own. And let's not forget how durable she is as well. Kuzan is getting defeated by Big Mom in my eyes. Now, when you talk about Kizaru, Fujitora, and Akainu, this is where I start to say, well, hold on. Maybe you can give Big Mom the W in a couple of those, but mid-diff, I can't go that far. I cannot go that far. We've literally seen Kizaru box against Gear 5 Luffy. Now, again, I've always said that Luffy was not at full strength because he literally fought Rob Lucci 2 seconds before Kizaru got to Egghead. Admiral fans leave that out. I don't. But on the flip side though, Kizaru was showing us abilities that we've never seen him use in the series before. We were seeing clones and all of these things. So Kizaru's bag is much deeper than we truly thought. And we know his hockey's impressive because Luffy hit him with a direct White Star gun and he was still getting up later on. So Kizaru is in there. Now, do I think he would defeat Big Mom? I don't, but I don't think it's going to be a mid-diff for Big Mom. I think maybe it's going to be high diff. Same with Fujitora. I think Fujitora is incredible. He literally has one of the craziest devil fruits in the entire series, and if he really wanted to go all out and get nasty, he really would be disgusting to deal with. I just don't know if Fujitora has the haki to deal with Big Mom, but his devil fruit can definitely hang with Big Mom. And then we have lastly Akainu. which you could really go either way. I think that Akainu, obviously being the fleet admiral, would solidify him as a Yonko level character in the One Piece world. Now, are you gonna say that he can defeat Big Mom or Big Mom can defeat him? I think it's really up in the air. For me, I'm more Team Yonko than I am Admiral, but I'm not gonna sit here and disrespect the fleet admiral. The only question I have for Akainu is, where is your haki at right now? Because as I've always said, if it takes you 10 days to defeat Kuzan, you need a significant power boost from that instance to now in present day One Piece to be able to defeat Big Mom. You can't sit here and take 10 days to defeat Kuzan and then all of a sudden you're Big Mom level. Like, no. We're not doing that. Big Mom is defeating Kuzan in less than 10 days. Absolutely. Fact number 6. Sabo is Admiral level and over the Yonko commanders. Man, I love this. You know why I love this? Because so many people out there in the One Piece community continue to disrespect Sabo and act like he's not one of those ones. And I've always found myself coming to his defense, not because he is Luffy's brother, but because of the work he has put in. And the thing is a lot of people continue to look at the stuff that Sabo does and write it off as it's not that serious. But what's crazy about this is if it were any other character in One Piece, they would get all the praise in the world. But if Sabo does it, it never counts. For whatever reason. Even Oda had to come out in a Q&A and say that Sabo has been training every single day. Oda had to literally say this because people were sleeping on him. I'm still not going to sleep on Sabo. The fact that he was in the room with the Gorosei and he escaped, it's an escape feat, but it's still impressive because the Gorosei were trying to take him out. Sabo is not only the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, but he fought an admiral on the first day getting his devil fruit, which is impressive, and it was Fujitora, might I add. It was not Green Bull. And when he subbed in for Luffy in Dressrosa, there was no slippage in strength. So when we look at how powerful he is and that he's the right-hand man of Monkey D. Dragon, who, oh, by the way, used to be in the Marines, why wouldn't Sabo be on that same level? It really makes no sense. Now, I agree that Sabo is Admiral level. The only thing I question is where you say over all the other Yonko commanders, because there is a man by the name of Ben Beckman who we have to see shine. We need a little bit more from Ben Beckman because his name and his narrative is ridiculous. We just have to see in action, because right now it's looking like Ben Beckman is the person that took Captain Kidd's arm, but we need to see more Ben Beckman on screen. Fact 7. Mihawk was the strongest individual in Marine Ford. This is utterly ridiculous. I know a Mihawk stan when I see one, and I get it. Mihawk holding the world's strongest swordsman title makes everybody just completely believe anything that Mihawk says and just make sure he has the strongest haki of all time. But as I've said in multiple videos that I've made, I do think there is a difference in how powerful your haki is versus how great you are at swordsmanship, because what Mihawk fans always do is they hype up Mihawk without realizing that while you're hyping up Mihawk, you also have to bring Flower Blade Vista up as well. Because if we're looking at what Oda said about Flower Blade Vista, he said that Flower Blade Vista's swordsmanship rivals Mihawk, but they always leave that out because if they bring in Vista, then it would make things look worse for Mihawk's end, considering that the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates got smoked by Blackbeard in the Payback War. Again, this is no disrespect to Mihawk. I think he's incredibly strong, but I'm not going to sit here and act like he was the strongest character in Marineford. Absolutely not. First of all, let's not forget when Shanks arrived to Marineford, Mihawk was the one that said, hey, I didn't sign up to fight Shanks. I'm leaving. That's number 1. Number 2, Garp was not going all out. That's confirmed. And fact number 3, Mihawk never even got to Whitebeard because Diamond Jozu stopped him. And then Flower Blade Vista got into the way. Mihawk never even got a chance to test his strength against Whitebeard, which is what he really wanted to do. So are we really going to sit here and act like Mihawk is maxing out everybody? Now again, I know the Mihawk fans are going to counter this, saying Mihawk never used the named attack in Marineford and all of these things, but let's be serious. Again, Shanks was in Marineford at the end. Garp was at Marineford, not trying. Confirmed. We did not see a galaxy impact from Garp. And then there's Whitebeard, who is sitting in front of the throne of becoming the Pirate King, but he just did not want to take the seat because he wanted to have a family. Those are 3 characters that I feel like we have to say, hold on. Mihawk is beating Garp, Whitebeard, and Shanks? Come on now, I need a little bit more than that before I can confirm that. Fact number 8, Fujitora is in the top 3 strongest admirals. Absolutely. I completely agree with this. We don't have to waste much time. Fact number 9, Luffy is currently the strongest in Elbaf. Let's break it down just a little bit. We know there's a couple God's Knights in Elbaf. And if we count the fact that Shamrock was also in Elbaf, it's questionable whether we put Luffy as the strongest or not. Now, Scopper Gaban was looking ridiculous. He only stopped once it was a Luffy and Zoro duo going up against himself. But if it were a 1v1, I think hockey-wise, Gaban was ready for Luffy. When you're talking about Roger's crew, their hockey was just on a different level. Luffy is on his way up, and there are moments where Luffy has achieved or rivaled that status, but Gaban and Rayleigh and Roger have lived it. So there's a little bit of a difference. They have that experience. So whether we want to say Luffy is stronger than Gaban or not, I mean, you could go either way, but that's the first name that comes to mind. I do think that Luffy is stronger than Loki though. I don't think Luffy would bring Loki back if he didn't feel like he could tame Loki. So I do think Luffy is stronger than Loki. And there's a couple other guys nice there. I believe Summers, Killingham, and Gunko. I think Luffy can deal with them all in a 1v1, but Shamrock? I don't know about Shamrock, y'all. So those are the two names that I have right now. I think Shamrock and Gaban are the only ones that can really rival Luffy's strength. But obviously, we already know Shamrock left, so. Fact number 10, Oden would not have won against Kaido even without a distraction and is not Yonko level. I highly disagree with this. We have to remember, the Kaido back then was not the Kaido of today. I think Oden was definitely somebody that would have defeated Kaido at that time, considering he was literally having Kaido like sweating. Kaido was scared of Oden's attack. He was scared, and the only opportunity Kaido got was the distraction to stop him. So this is not really a disrespect to Kaido, but this is just understanding the timeline that Kaido was much weaker back then. I mean, this is a Kaido that's dealing with Gecko Moria and all this stuff, like people that Kaido would blink at now and they would pass out from his Conqueror's Haki. So like, it's not the same. Fact number 2, Mihawk likely has the same level of Haki as Shanks, plus an arm. Haki is not just one thing. It's an entire power system that's broken up into a bunch of subcategories. You have armament, you have conquerors, and you have observation. But even in those, you have advanced versions. Like I've said in previous videos, I think there are certain categories of Haki that Mihawk accelerates in, and I believe there's other categories of Haki that Shanks excels in. When you look at armament Haki, which Ryuo lies under, I think that Mihawk is the greatest in that department. I think his Ryuo has to be one of the greatest. I mean, he literally wields Yoru. You have to give him that. That's what I believe. When you're looking at observation and you're looking at conquerors, I think on paper, because we haven't seen Mihawk use it, I believe he has it, but we have not seen him use it. Shanks has one of the greatest future sight observation Haki feats that we've seen in the entire series. He literally saw the entire play-by-play of what Captain Kidd was going to do to the fleet surrounding the red-haired pirates at Elbaf. We saw the entire play-by-play. It honestly felt like it was like 30 seconds of future sight. It was ridiculous. We've never seen a future sight scene play out that much, that far ahead in the future. If Mihawk is to rival Shanks, he would need to have future sight of that level. But here's the kicker. Shanks has such great Conqueror's Haki that he literally developed observation killing, which is theorized to be an ability that was purposely crafted for Mihawk. Shanks made up this ability to stop Mihawk with his great conquerors. When you look at all of that together, I think their Haki is different. I don't think Mihawk has the same level of conquerors as Shanks. I would never say that. But also, I think Mihawk has greater armament Haki than Shanks. But the observation is kind of somewhere in the middle, and it depends on which version of Haki you believe matters more or carries more weight. For me, I think Conqueror's Haki carries more weight overall, which is why I have always said I believe Shanks is stronger than Mihawk. I think his conquerors will just make up for whatever the difference is in the armament department. Mihawk fans may think otherwise. The plus arm thing, I cannot get behind. Listen, Shanks got stronger after he lost his arm. Mihawk called him a one-arm has-been, which is what most One Piece characters do when they're talking trash. But the Mihawk fans just said, you know what, let's just take Mihawk's word for it. Let's just ignore what Shanks has to say. For whatever reason, they say, all right, well, Shanks is weaker even after he lost his arm, so he'll never beat Mihawk. But they expect Zoro to surpass Mihawk at the end of the series after losing an eye. Only Zoro can get stronger after losing an important part of his body. Shanks can't though. He's always just gonna be weaker. Can't win. Can't win. Fact number 4, if Sanji used his hands in a fight, he would surpass Zoro. This is a whole video by itself. Like, this is actually insane. Basically, what Anime Scares is doing is that he's making the case that Sanji is purposely nerfing himself. but I don't know if we can go down that road. And listen, I'm a Sanji fan, but I don't know if we can go down that road because again, Sanji's style is literally kicking. That's his strength. So he's playing to his strengths. Now we know the real reason. He only wants to use his hands for cooking and not fighting. We get that. But through having that one constraint on himself, he has become one of the greatest kicking fighters of all time. Like, that's literally his strength now. So it's kind of like us removing Zoro's sword from him. So I can't really go down this road. But we do have a scene of Zoro going zero sword style. So I would love to see a scene of Sanji using his hands with his feet mid-battle on a ridiculous level. I'm talking hockey and all. This could be something. Now, I don't know if it has enough legs just because Zoro has conquerors and Sanji doesn't. But I've always said that Sanji is much faster than Zoro. He's one of the fastest Straw Hats behind Luffy. And if you talk about his Germa genes and the regenerative abilities that it has and the fact that he can literally tank attacks from Seraphim, no difficulty whatsoever. Listen, if Sanji had confirmed Conqueror's Haki, it would be a nasty day in the One Piece community. Zoro fans and Sanji fans, listen, nobody will be able to stop them. It will be over. The fights will be all over the place. Fact number 5, Shanks will jump anyone with his crew and his entire forces. Probably jumped Kaido and Loki. Again, anime scares. Mihawk fan confirmed. This is just Shanks slander of the highest grade. And it's not true. Shanks will not just jump everyone with his entire crew. His crew will back him up, but they also know when to stand back and let Shanks deal with what he has to deal with, i.e. Captain Kidd. Who jumped in with the Captain Kidd scenario? Shanks packed up the whole crew, and then Dorian Brogy just said, you know what? Let's just blow the rest of the ship up. Everybody's already gone anyway. Whatever. There was no scenes of Ben Beckman jumping in. Yasopp didn't get in the mix. What are you talking about? Shanks is jumping everybody with his crew. First of all, this is a disrespect to the red-haired pirates as a crew overall. They don't even move like that for real. They have honor, they have respect, and they know when to step in or when to just let Shanks do what he needs to do. Another example, the Green Bull Wi-Fi hockey scenario. We've literally seen it in the anime. They watched Shanks send the Wi-Fi hockey. Nobody got involved. They said, let Captain do what he needs to do. He's running the show. He's the big boss. We'll stand back. We'll deflate. Let Shanks eat. So all of this, Shanks is jumping and blah, blah, blah. It's all cap. Shanks does not just jump everybody. Fact number 6, all the admirals, including Green Bull, are beating any Yonko commander in a 1v1. Listen, Anime Scares does not even believe what he just wrote. Because you see how he had to make sure he put including Green Bull because he knew Green Bull was gonna get fried first. Of course, you know what time it is. We are frying, we are sauteing, we are broiling Ryokugyu, Aramaki, Green Bull, the fodder. All right, now I'm not gonna sit here and really pretend that Green Bull is weak because at the end of the day, he's weak for the memes, but in reality, he is definitely a formidable opponent in the One Piece world. But when you have Green Bull literally running before he even saw what Shanks looked like, when you have Green Bull getting attacked by Momonosuke, who was literally just using his fruit for like the first 2 seconds, for real, when you're seeing that Yamato purposely said, you know what, I will stand back and let Momonosuke use you as practice. There are too many moments where Green Bull does not look like he is that formidable. Now again, King and Queen got defeated by Green Bull. They were half dead. I don't know why Admiral fans are using this as a feat. It's honestly just sad at this point. Those two were already defeated. So I don't know why we're giving him all the credit in the world like Green Bull was putting in Sanji and Zoro level work to take down King and Queen, because he did not do that. Now, when you're talking about Yonko commanders boxing against admirals, Ben Beckman, Zoro, you even have to mention Marco. And in a very, very weird way, Mihawk and Crocodile are technically Yonko commanders. Anime Scares, you are a Mihawk stan to the highest grade. We've seen this Shanks slander all over all the facts. You saying this means you also have to say that Mihawk is getting packed up by Green Bull in a 1v1. And I know you don't believe that. So let's delete this fact altogether, because Mihawk is a Yonko commander by definition. He's in the Cross Guild. Buggy is a Yonko. He is the Emperor. He is the face. He's the figurehead. Buggy said he wants to go for the One Piece, and Crocodile and Mihawk had to capitulate. Maybe you can even throw Shiryu into the mix, but I just need to see more of Shiryu on paper. I think that narratively, he's going to be devastating. It's just, what is your hockey looking like? I mean, you did stab Garp, but you also had 10 other people with you. So what are you looking like by yourself in a 1v1? Fact number 7, if anyone is as strong or stronger than Prime Garp, it's Monkey D. Dragon. Yes. I love it because so many people out there disrespect Dragon, they disrespect Sabo, and I'm loving the Sabo and Dragon respect. You're absolutely right. For everybody out there that's acting like Monkey D. Dragon is not going to be one of the strongest characters in the One Piece world, if not already, I refuse to answer any of your comments. Monkey D. Dragon used to be in the Marines. Now Dragon is outside of this. He formed the Freedom Fighters, which then evolved into the Revolutionary Army. And what he does is he says, hey, I'm not even focusing on what the Marines are doing right now. I know I have bigger fish to fry. There's a bigger mission. There's people that are even beyond or even have higher authority than the Marines. Those are the Celestial Dragons. Those are the Holy Knights, the God's Knights. Those are the Gorosei. That's Imu. He's dealing with those enemies. So when we tie all that back in, you think Dragon is going to set his sights on enemies that formidable and then just be weak, not train, not be super strong? Dragon wouldn't even create the Revolutionary Army if he didn't believe he had the strength to lead them. I'm tired of the Dragon disrespect. I get it. He looks east. There's a lot of him not talking, a lot of him not moving, but it's more so Oda is saving him for the last resort because he knows once Dragon pops out, it's going to be devastating. That's the vibes we are getting because narratively, Dragon's supposed to be one of the strongest characters in the series, considering he's the world's most wanted man. Fact number 8, Mihawk is the strongest swordsman right now and is waiting for Zoro to become stronger than Shanks for a challenge. Well, anime series, I can tell you right now, he's going to be waiting a very, very, very long time because it's never going to happen. Zoro will die before he surpasses Shanks because Shanks is stronger than Mihawk. And even though I love the back and forth, you know, Shanks fans going up against Mihawk fans, I love it. We also have to be fair, right? As I said, Mihawk fans believe Shanks is weaker because he lost an arm. But when Zoro loses his eye, you guys just say, oh, it's all good. All I'm asking is for y'all to be fair. That's it. You guys believe Zoro can surpass Mihawk at the end of the series even though he lost his eye. And we're not going to sit here and act like losing an eye wouldn't make you weaker in battle. It literally affects your vision. I don't know what else to say. There are multiple swordsmen in the series that I would love to see Mihawk deal with before he even gets to Shanks or Zoro. We have Saint Ethan of the Gorosei, we have Garling, we have Shamrock, maybe even a Fujitora would be nice. I mean, there's so many other characters who are swordsmen that Mihawk should probably see before Zoro even gets to him. Fact number 9, Kobe has advanced conquerors and he could beat Yonko commanders if he is going all out. Can we relax? Honesty Impact was great. It was fantastic, but let's just pump the brakes on the Kobe hype just for a little bit. Just for a little bit. I think we need to see a little bit more training sessions with Kobe. Maybe him fighting another greater opponent because him using a great attack against what, Avala Pizarro? That's cool, but who is that really? Let's talk about him boxing Yonko directly because again, you're talking about Yonko commanders. So if you're saying he could beat Yonko commanders going all out, you are basically trying to put Kobe on a Yonko level status. So which Yonko is Kobe rivaling? Now, I don't know what power boost Oda's gonna give him end of series. We know it's coming, but we don't know to what extent. But Kobe right now doing an Honesty Impact against Avala Pizarro made you believe that he can rival a Yonko? Hey. You said One Piece facts, man. I'm just fact checking. Now make sure you guys show Anime Scares some love on TikTok because he took the time out to do this. Now some of these facts had a little bit of weight to them and others were just completely uncalled for and disrespectful. You guys let me know down in the comment section below what you agree with or disagree with from him. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.